You're going through your mail like any other day when suddenly you see your name on a $480,000 mortgage for a house you've never even seen. Your heart stops, your hands shake, and when you call your parents in panic, they tell you it's your responsibility to pay for it. That's exactly what happened to me, and what came next will shock you to your core. Hey everyone, before we dive into this unbelievable story, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. If stories like this resonate with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps us bring you more content that matters. Now let's get into what happened. So, there I was, standing in my kitchen after a long day at work, just sorting through the usual pile of bills and junk mail. You know how it is. Credit card offers, random flyers, nothing important. But then I spotted this thick, official-looking envelope with my full legal name printed right on the front. My gut told me something was wrong. I tore it open, and my world completely flipped upside down. Mortgage documents. For $480,000, with my name as the borrower. Monthly payments of nearly $3,000, for a property I'd never heard of, in a town I rarely visit. The panic hit me like a freight train. Identity theft was the first thing that crossed my mind. Someone had stolen my information and was about to destroy my entire financial future. My breathing became shallow. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, and I felt like the walls were closing in on me. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody could have predicted. I immediately called the mortgage company, but of course they were closed. So in my desperation, I did what any confused person would do. I called my mom. Big mistake. Huge mistake. When I told her about the mortgage documents, there was this pause. This uncomfortable silence that made my stomach drop. Then she said something that still gives me chills. "Oh, you got them already? That's good." Wait, what? That's good? I'm having a full-blown panic attack thinking my identity was stolen and she's acting like this is normal? I demanded an explanation, but she brushed me off, telling me to come home for dinner so they could explain everything, the way she said it. It was like she was talking to a child who wouldn't understand grown-up conversations. That drive from Boston to my parents' house felt like the longest journey of my life. My mind was racing through every possible scenario, and none of them were good. When I pulled into the driveway and saw my sister's car already there, I knew this wasn't going to be just a family dinner. Walking into that living room felt like entering a courtroom where I was already guilty. My parents were sitting there, looking way too prepared for this conversation. My sister was curled up in her chair, playing the victim before anyone had even said a word. Then came the bombshell. My father, in his most business-like tone, told me they had decided as a family that I should help my sister get some stability, a house of her own. When I pointed out that this decision was made without me, he just steamrolled right over my objection. Here's the kicker. They used my tax records. My tax records, without my permission. They forged my signature on legal documents worth nearly $500,000. When I called it what it was, fraud, my father had the audacity to tell me not to use words like that because it made it sound criminal. Newsflash, Dad, it is criminal. But the real gut punch came from my mother. When I threatened to call the police, she grabbed my wrist, looked me dead in the eye, and said if I left that house, I was out of the family forever. You know what? For the first time in my life, I chose myself. I walked out that door and never looked back. But oh, it gets so much worse. 2 weeks later, I'm at home trying to process everything that happened when there's a knock at my door. Heavy, official knocks. I opened it to find a guy in a navy jacket holding an envelope. "You've been served," he said, and just like that, he was gone. I stood there frozen, holding legal documents that would change everything. My own parents, the people who raised me, who were supposed to love and protect me, were suing me for $480,000. I literally collapsed on my floor, not from weakness, but from the sheer weight of betrayal. These were the same people who used to guilt-trip me into paying for my sister's car repairs, her credit card bills, her endless series of financial disasters. But this time, they'd crossed a line I never thought they'd dare to cross. Thank goodness for my friend Jessica. She took one look at those legal papers and immediately connected me with a family attorney named Rachel. Rachel didn't sugarcoat anything. She told me straight up that what my parents did wasn't just morally wrong, it was federal mortgage fraud. But here's where I discovered something about myself I never knew existed. I'm not someone who backs down when I'm right. I spent the next few weeks building my case, like my life depended on it, because honestly, it did. I dug through old storage boxes, recovered deleted emails, and found every piece of evidence that showed the pattern of manipulation and abuse that had been going on for years. And boy, did I find some gems. There was an email thread between my parents from months before this all happened. The subject line: "If she refuses, we'll make it a family matter. She can't refuse." They had planned this. They had strategized about how to manipulate me into compliance, banking on the fact that I'd be too embarrassed to fight back publicly. They clearly didn't know me as well as they thought they did. While I was building my legal defense, my sister was building her social media offense. She posted tearful videos talking about how her own sister was trying to make her homeless. The comment section was brutal. People calling me selfish, heartless, a terrible sister. She was painting herself as the victim, while I was the one dealing with potential financial ruin. But you know what? The truth has a way of coming out. The day we went to court was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. There I was, sitting across from my own parents in a courtroom, fighting for my financial freedom and my sanity. My grandmother, the only family member who supported me through this nightmare, sat behind me like a guardian angel. Their lawyer tried to paint this as a simple family misunderstanding. He talked about implied contracts and family expectations, basically trying to argue that because I'd helped my sister financially in the past, I was somehow legally obligated to buy her a house. But our evidence was bulletproof. Those emails, the forged signatures, the premeditated nature of their scheme, it all came out in court. When my sister took the stand and tried to play innocent, my lawyer pulled up her social media posts. Post where she was bragging about her dream home and thanking our parents for making it happen. If she really thought I was willingly buying her this house, why was she thanking them instead of me? The judge saw right through their act. Case dismissed. Sanctions imposed. Restraining order granted. They couldn't contact me for 3 months, and they had to pay part of my legal fees. But you know what the real victory was? It wasn't watching them lose in court. It was realizing that I had finally broken free from a cycle of manipulation that had controlled my entire adult life. The aftermath was complicated. Some extended family members reached out to support me, people who had been watching this toxic dynamic for years but never said anything. Others cut me off completely, choosing to believe the version of events where I was the villain. But here's what I learned through all of this. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally are the ones who will hurt you the most. And sometimes, protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. I'm not going to lie and say everything is perfect now. The scars from this kind of betrayal don't just disappear, but for the first time in years, I feel truly free. I'm not walking on eggshells, wondering when the next financial emergency will become my responsibility. I'm not being guilted into fixing problems I didn't create. I'm finally living my life, not the life they wanted me to live for their convenience. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you're dealing with family members who manipulate you financially, who guilt you into fixing their problems, who make you feel responsible for their poor choices, please know that you're not alone. You don't owe anyone your financial security, not even family. You don't owe anyone your mental health, and you definitely don't owe anyone the right to forge your signature on legal documents. Setting boundaries isn't cruel, it's necessary. Standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away from people who refuse to respect your limits, even if those people are family. The hardest part about this whole experience wasn't the legal battle or the money I spent on attorneys. It was accepting that the people I thought I could trust most in this world were willing to destroy my future for their own convenience. But you know what? I'm stronger now because of it. I know what I'm worth, and I know what I won't tolerate. And that knowledge is worth more than any house, any lawsuit, or any family relationship built on manipulation and guilt. So here's my message to anyone who needs to hear it. Your worth isn't determined by how much you're willing to sacrifice for others. Your value doesn't come from being the family ATM or the eternal problem solver. You have the right to say no. You have the right to protect yourself, and you have the right to choose your own path, even if it means walking away from people who refuse to support your decisions. This story isn't just about mortgage fraud or family drama. It's about learning to value yourself enough to fight for your own future. It's about recognizing that sometimes the people who claim to love you are actually the ones holding you back. And most importantly, it's about understanding that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's the first step toward building the life you actually want to live. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? How did you handle it? Your story might help someone else who's struggling with similar issues. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories that matter. And remember, you're stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and worth fighting for. Until next time, keep standing up for yourself because nobody else is going to do it for you.